What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Foreign Insight. Today with your host, Dan Maddox, and today we have a special guest here, man. I ain't gonna do too much talking. I'm gonna let her tell it as like it is.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that means. How is it? Okay. Well, I'm here. My name is Stephanie. I'm an artist, multidisciplinarian. And I guess what brought me here was, I mentioned in a slightly baiting way that I was a feminist in a comment, and that, brought us to open up this conversation, and so here I am.
I love it because when I had the topic about is feminist a hate group, and I was talking about having different points about why I think feminist is a hate group. You came on talking about you a feminist, so I'm like, I love to have a conversation with a feminist, and you was like, anytime. Right. Now we here today.
So yeah, I actually didn't see that whole episode. I guess I must have just commented on a clip that I saw, but I guess you can define feminism in a lot of different ways. Like, I'm definitely not like a bra-burning, like CIA feminist. I'm not like a man-hating. I'm also not a woman who's trying to have rights in a man's world. I'm more like a feminist in the sense that the world needs to look less like a VR that a traumatized man created. Like, the world itself, I think, is gaining the balance anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm just putting myself on the winning team.
All right. So let me ask you a question.
We're going towards balance.
Let me ask you a question. So, what do feminists mean?
I mean, I think that for some people, it is like when you're taking it as like, I am being held back because I'm a woman, and like we were talking about earlier, victimization. Like, so some people they rally because they feel that they need to impose their group, et cetera, for whatever reasons. Mm-hmm. I think for me, I'm more of a woman who's awakening to the fact that I've been living in a man's world, but not every man's world, mm-hmm. some men's world. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that men also need to be conscious of, Like, we're all, in a way, the societies we're living in, the constructs that are around us in terms of government structures, everything, has been designed by certain men. It's not necessarily mm-hmm. like by natural design. I think that if there were more of a natural design behind things, we could call it really a balanced world,
So, let me get something straight. So you basically are an old school feminist, not the third and fourth wave feminist.
I don't know. I'm just me, right? I'm just me kind of going like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I was probably having misogynistic behaviors as a woman towards other women.
Hold on.
Like, I'm saying, like, I was born in misogynistic waters, like we all have been, to the point where I didn't even know it. And now I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't want to say this and that because I'm a woman, but damn, like, actually, certain things have been happening that I haven't even given it. Like,
so give an example of you doing something like that to other women. Give an example.
I think it's probably been really subtle, like, and also everyone has their own experience, like, do you have sisters, do you have brothers, how were your parents, everybody's going to have their own balance of masculine and feminine, but I think I probably, in a way, was like masculine leaning in maybe just really not wanting to be a victim, to the point where I kind of was not being realistic about the environment around me. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like having realizations. And the reason that I commented, I think it was, there's something I put in that comment. I think that what's happening now with like the latest psyop of the government, using communities and like gender ideology, because I don't think I don't run into people who are like crazy like that, and I'm around those communities, so I'm just like, I think that those communities need to come out and say like, it's not really like that. This is like, you're showing crazy extremes to people who are getting really worked up and scared because they're nowhere near these communities, so they're just believing whatever they see. So it's like we're being gaslit,
So let me ask you, all right, so watch this. So let me ask you a question. So if, feminist by definition is advocating for women equal rights as the men. So with that being said, do you think that women has equal rights as men in today's society?
So again, this is sort of what I'm touching on. I think that nobody has the rights that they think they have. Like, I think that even men don't have rights because the society we're in is not really a man's world. It's some men's world. It's like a twisted world. So it's like, no matter what side, it's like you can't win. So I'm going at it. I don't want
That's
more,
a good take.
I don't want more rights in this
a good
world.
take.
I want this world to end. I want to rewrite this world, like all of us together who are just like lucid people.
So in the world, and you want all of us to die, or just the way how to function to end?
I mean, the way it's going, that's what's going to happen.
All right.
If we don't change things, that's what's going to happen. And that'll be a reset in itself, and that's part of nature.
Yeah,
and we
you
have
gotta
to accept it.
Reboot, reboot
Totally.
the earth.
This is whack. Like, honestly, like, I'm not enjoying this world.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a bad storyline. Like, I'm just like who is watching this show? Who in the universe is tuning into Earth right now and not being like, this is so whack,
You turn the channel.
Like, nah, let's go back to Mars, man.
Yeah,
Let's go watch Venus for a second, because like this shit on Earth is just like not believable.
Because especially in the USA, I call it South Park land. Like, we living in the South Park or Family Guy world, and everything is backwards. Like, up is down, down is left. A man ain't a woman, a woman ain't a man. I'm confused now.
Totally, and that's actually what made me go like, okay, like the whole women and the whole men in sports things, men and women's sports, trans women. It's like, it seems very, very crystal clear to me that trans people should be proud to be trans people, should call themselves trans. I mean, I understand there's a long history, people had to hide, there was violence against trans people, and actually a lot of that came from the gay community itself, who didn't want to include trans women in their bars.
Yo, where my
there's
camera
a long
at?
history there.
What's my camera at? Because that's the truth that I haven't, I swear, I feel so good that you said that. Because something I always wanted to say, but I wasn't too sure of it. So I am like a fool.
I mean, listen, I believe that people should speak from their own communities, so I don't want to like go too deep in that. But I know this from my time in those communities. And I have a lot of love for just the people I love. I don't really care at all what, how they identify or what clothes they wear, especially, I mean, I'll definitely love good style, but I don't care if your heel goes like this or like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
That is not what makes a woman. Like, But the cool thing about all of this nonsense of like the extremes that were being thrown, and then how insanely strongly everyone's taking it, and because it's like, how real is this even? Like, I think we need to go like, hey, like, enough with the provocation, governments and media. Like, enough gaslighting us. Like, you're doing like crooked stuff that we need to, maybe not. I don't know. Do we need to pay attention to it, or do we?
We just
need to go away. Like, y'all need to go away. Like I'm so over it.
But then they hit a problem. You can't say go away, but then at the same time you ask them for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the reason why you said go away, but then the next talk you asking for something.
No, but
so
obviously
they never
it can't
gonna go
be
away.
so simple, go away. But like, we need to at least start to become conscious. Like, do not ask. And I agree with you. Don't ask, because when you're dealing with manipulative people on any level, as soon as you ask them for something, you're giving them power.
Yeah.
So it's like, people need to get organized in their own groups. Honestly, I think the way we should be grouping ourselves is not by any of this superficial stuff. Like, I don't care what you look like. I don't care like what you like to eat or do or whatever. But how clearly are you seeing reality? How lucid are you, and how strong is your intention to do the right thing? and like have a better world where everybody wins.
Like, before I get to my next question, because you see her shirt, this is her brand, right? So on your shirt, what does that say?
It says exclusion, inclusion.
Right? Now I had a question for her. It was perfect. She came in today with that shirt on, and I had a question about inclusion. So the reason why I think feminists also hurt women in general, because y'all became too inclusive. It's to the point that that's the reason why you have trans people entering women's sports, and everybody could just join the movement. And I'm saying that's BS, because if women have fought for equal rights, by definition, I'm a feminist by definition, meaning I do agree women should have equal rights as the men and get paid equal. Now that women do get paid equal, they keep saying, no, they're not. They tend to forget that it's a manufactured wage gap, right? Because it's literally illegal to pay a woman less at doing the same job as you. People get paid less because of different time shifts, night differential. All things could come into play because all men don't get paid equal, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when it comes down to the inclusion thing, a lot of feminists would combat men saying, no, she's a woman. If she identifies a woman, if he identifies a woman, then she's a woman. Just to be right to the, just to stick it to
like,
the man.
I don't even, like, for me, that, like, I would just be like, does not compute, and my mind would explode, and I would just go next. Like, I'm not even gonna entertain crazy stuff like that.
But that's what,
like, that's not, like, I wanting to unite with lucid people, I would not consider that lucid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what premise are you starting from? Like, if this were an equation with numbers, would you get the right answer?
No,
like, yes or no? You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that are not, it's not about a debate. It's not, another thing that, like, when institutions want to manipulate society, right? First, they'll, find a victimized area of the population, right? And potentially even victimize them on the low before they do this, right? And then use their cause for their own means, and then, like, throw them out when they're done. So it's like, I would say, like, if an institution or, like, the media or anything starts to pick up on your cause, watch out.
It's usually an agenda attached to it. Absolutely. They're trying to switch it to it. So that's why the reason why I said a lot of the feminists, for example.
So who are these feminists? Like, what is this?
They're everywhere.
I'm like, am I, like, just so,
because
like,
that's the reason why I say feminist. If you're a true feminist, you should be against this stuff.
But see, that's not how I would call. That's not what I would call a feminist. Because if you're a feminist, that means that, in my estimation of what the word would mean, that you have a love for the feminine principle, like, and that you want to have that be put back on its proper place, on its throne, next to the masculine principle, equally.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, and so for me, a feminist, when I say that I'm a feminist, it's because for the first time when I heard, like, people, being like, questioning what it was to be a biological woman, that you even have to say biological. I'm almost like, let's just scrap the word woman and take a whole other word on. You all can have it, like, it's already been so trashed, But it's like I guess I'm fundamentally, like, I'm about nature and balance. And if the mother is the earth, then I'm a feminist for her. But I'm not trying to dog men. I think that we're all victims of a society, if we're victims at all. And collectively, we're not. But we're all here, and we have to make it.
But that's the reason why I'm saying, because a lot of women would be combative to a man to tell another man that a man can identify as a woman, and not realizing that same man who identifies as a woman is actually Trojan horsing his way into your movement and getting the rights over a snap of a finger.
And, like, in like a lower vibration, I was like, yo, this is, like, next level misogyny. Having
Thank you. I mean, that's kind of
absolutely it is. But on a higher level, spiritually, I'm like, listen, we need to stop fighting. We need to stop being gaslit, and start just stepping away and stepping back and going, like, hey, listen, like, this is not this doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
We need to love each other, you know, and we need to like reconstruct a world that's based on different values.
But I think feminists, the first wave, should be mad at the new wave feminists because that's not what they had in mind from the beginning.
I mean, I want to point out, and I think a lot of people don't know this, but when I said I'm not a CIA feminist,
yeah, see, you get
people need to Google that, right?
Yeah,
because they did fund the feminist movement in the '60s, you know. So
and they also let the liberation free movement jump on the backs of feminists, and they took them all in as feminists.
It's like, again,
and
co-opting the desire of women to find balance in society and turning it into something it wasn't.
This is why feminism. Answer your question. Do you think feminism helped create whores?
Whores have been there all along.
No, I get that, but it's a new wave of whores now. And they're also feminists.
Like glorifying
like slut walking,
yeah,
like that.
I think that these women don't realize that that's what I'm saying. There's like a profound misogyny that we're born in, and we take it on without even knowing. You know, so it's like, absolutely. And I wouldn't blame anyone for that, but I think that like if we can become conscious that we're born in waters that are already so out of whack that we need to really sit with ourselves till we understand who we are again.
Because feminism was never about how many men I can sleep with, about any slut walking.
Yeah, I want to be like men.
Anything like that at all.
Yeah.
But now we're switched to that.
Like that's
so they
the
took
equal right.
They took the meaning of feminist away. Now it's radicalized and it's also used as like a political pawn, and it's hurting overall women. So when I see women outside of their nature, a lot of them are like just hating men, and their whole goal is to be one up on a man. I'm like, that's not the same thing. That's why you're out of order. Yeah. And then you said this world need to reboot, need to reset, because this is what happens when you have radical control feminists, that the men also bend their backs to okay this nonsense now. Because let's be honest, the men are calling the actual final say only in the government. They actually ruling things, but it's coming from a place by listening to extremist people.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Because like we're in the trickle down from that. So it's like we're in, like James Brown said it, we're in a man's world, but that world is not working. Like it's a fail, y'all.
Yo, man, listen.
And so it's like everything underneath that, it's like we could argue about it, but at the end it's really just a symptom of a greater cause. You know, and I think we just need to just stop being baited and falling for this, because you know what it's creating? Just making people argue. It's creating more animosity and hate, creating more subdivisions and subgroups until people are totally alienated from one another. You know?
So the other question I want to ask you, do you think feminist is an actual hate group?
See, like, because I don't really know what this is. Like, I would just say that anyone who's pulling the blanket is maybe just hurting. You know, maybe it's a hurt group more than a hate group, like any other group.
But people hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think like we need to be sympathetic to that.
A hurt group.
You know, and every group that is, and that's the thing. Like, instead of coming at people like we're arguing to have rights, it's like, let's just actually talk to find solutions and like find ways to like heal. Like what we need is healing. It's not arguing. Like
the crazy part about it, every time I ask a feminist, there's one question they really can answer this question. They always say men have more rights than women, or men get paid more, things like that, right? So I asked them this one question: what laws that men have, or no, what rights that men have that women don't have? They get stuck every single time because, like you said, they're just following something.
I mean, listen, it's not that misogyny isn't real, that racism isn't real, that all these things aren't real. Like, yeah, they exist because we live in a world of ignorance, you know, and that's part of what this experience is, to be here. But the thing is, it's like, it's so boring. You know what I mean? It's just so boring. And like, I think the fact that the elders are pushed aside stops people from benefiting from the knowledge that they carry and repeating cycles over and over instead of learning their way out of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I would first be like, you know, people might not like their mothers, but you got to honor that's where you came from. You came from your mother, you came from your father, that you have ancestry, that you have grandparents, that there are, and these people are, you're going to be those people, you know, those people were cool. Those people lived in a totally different time, and we should be more interested, and we should go back to, you know, I feel so grateful to have had some very good friends that were like 30, 40 years older than me, because I learned so much from them and their energy, you know?
So you call yourself a feminist, not in the radical extremist way, not the third or fourth wave. So if you as a feminist woman, well, are you married, by the way, or no? All right. So if you was to get a husband, would you let him lead the traditional way, or would you go about it the modern way when he have to compromise and y'all have to be equals in a relationship? Or will you let him lead naturally?
Well, I'm glad that we're living in a time where there isn't pressure being placed on women as much. You know, in certain societies, there absolutely is. You know, it was like, you better be married by this age or you're an old maid. Like, people have to understand where women are coming from. Like, didn't have the vote till not too long ago. Like, you know, it's like, it's real, you know, and I know, and I didn't want to see it, but when I think about it honestly, I do know that there are things that happen to me in my work environments that would not happen to me if I were, I mean, I can't say that because maybe I'd be a different kind of man who'd still attract the same kind of stuff. Like, I can't say that because it's not the case, right? But that I suspect strongly people would not take certain liberties with me professionally if I were a man, you know? But anyway, so just to say that. And then in terms of coupling, like, I'm glad that I'm in a time where I can be a single woman. And I think that I am a little bit of an alpha myself, right? So I think that to be with someone, it would have to be a balanced partnership where we're both like collaborating, you know, and it's more of a partnership. I don't think any one person should lead. So no, I'm not a traditionalist like that.
But then you have to have a leader though, because if you have partnership, nobody leading.
I mean, I think people lead in their strong areas.
Yeah, that's the point.
It's a way of being able to concede, hey, this works better. But again, that's like having the good faith to want things to work. You know, and I think that's intelligence. It's like, are we looking for a fight? Are we looking to be right? Or are we looking to make things work? You know?
Yeah, you got some good answers.
I mean, I've been asking myself some questions.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that. I ask myself questions every day. So it usually just come like fluid. Like it just come to me and I answer things on the fly.
But it's complicated, you know, because like, you know, it's easy, you know, when you back away, and I think that's the best way to look at any situation, is to really like take distance and like gain perspective. Because like you can show me this much of a picture and I'll be like, I have no idea what that is. You'll show me this, I'll be like, oh, it's that. And then by the time I see the full thing, I'm like, oh, that's what it is, right? So to pull back is really important with anything that we're doing. Like, so, go back and go back and go back.
So do you think the new wave of feminists in today's climate in 2023 is destroying the fabric of families?
I mean, I don't know who these women are, you know? I really don't know, because, like, again, it's just like a society that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting.
I give you an example.
It's like,
I give you an example what I'm talking about. The women that's saying that they can lead the household and that they don't need a man to lead. They can lead the man in a family household because they got the bag. They got the money.
I mean, honestly, people can do whatever they want. You know, if there's a woman that's her storyline, is to be that character in her life in this incarnation, like, do your thing. And there's probably a man who will be happy to be in the
but that dude will
more
be a
feminine role.
But he'll be a weaker man.
But there are weak men.
No, I get that.
I mean, I don't want to say weak,
no,
but there are more effeminate. I don't even want to say effeminate. There are alphas, and then there are people who, like, they just want to chill and have somebody else take decisions. Like,
I agree with you. But those families, in generally speaking, the man usually take an exit after a while because she will boot him away.
You know what I would say, though? I would say that there's too much pressure between men to to fit into, like, people need to be allowed to be themselves. Like, everyone needs to just pay attention to, like, how am I doing before they go, how are you doing? Oh.
Why is that going off? Yeah, there you go.
The spirits are talking.
That's the spirits talking.
I just mean, like, yeah, right. I was just got you onto that. Yeah.
So, like, what I was saying, right, is because when women that's usually lead in the masculine role, right, and the feminists that say they could lead in the masculine role, they're not with the traditional.
Okay, but do you think that makes you a feminist to be a
No,
leader?
no, I'm talking about the feminists are saying this.
Okay.
The types of feminists are saying that they can lead. Then now, therefore, if you're trying to lead and out of position, then you really don't want true equal rights. You really want to be the leader. Fine, I ain't knocking that.
But are they saying that every woman should be that?
No, they're saying that they can.
Okay.
Right, which is cool. But then, if you're saying that the woman can lead and you want to lead your household with your man in there, let him lead. By nature, he demotes himself into a feminine role, like you said. And she demotes up to a masculine role,
I would
right?
say that that's a judgment on your part.
No, I'm agreeing with that. But what I'm saying
because you said something interesting there.
Right,
you
go
said
ahead.
he demotes himself to a feminine role.
Yeah, because
so automatically you just kind of said the masculine role is higher than the feminine role.
no, into my relationship, that's not supposed to be.
But why is
leader.
it a demotion?
Because the men nature.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I think it's putting a lot of pressure on men to pigeonhole them in one definition of what their nature is. Like, I think there are sensitive men who, like, have different ways of being, and I don't think they should be shamed for that.
No. What I'm saying is, in a dating role, right? What I'm saying to you, the woman, if a man demotes himself, and it's his natural thing.
This demotion word.
Watch it right
I don't know.
So, if it's a lion, that's a hunter. But then, for some reason, he's not a hunter. He's not a hunter at all. He don't want to hunt.
Right.
He demotes himself from his natural essence of a lion. He demotes himself.
I think if
right?
you look into, like, lions.
But lioness is the ones that usually hunt.
Right. I was gonna say.
So what I'm saying is, the all right, let's go with a hunter. Let's go with humans. Let's use humans again. Let's go with the hunter. You got the gatherers. You got the hunters, right? The gatherers usually the women who gather and keep the kids together, the food. And the hunter usually go out there.
Traditionally,
Traditionally, right?
But there
now,
have been other matriarchal societies.
If he says, you know what, I'd rather be the gatherer and then you go hunt. So he demotes his masculine part.
Why is that a demotion, though?
Because he's not. It's dropping down from his natural essence.
But I'm
right?
saying, like, why is it a drop down? Why isn't it a parallel switch? Like, why
Because
can't it be also, like, you know,
because it's
as important to be a gatherer?
No. I'm not saying it's not as important. I'm talking about it's levels.
See, that's kind of I would
No, but
I would check myself on that a little bit. The levels.
The reason why I said it's levels because it's all right. I'm gonna use the basketball analogy. LeBron James is the leader of the basketball team, right? He's a leader. He's the leader, star. You get to pay the bucks, but he might say, "You know what? This 2 games, I'm gonna play the back row and let you play, and you be the star of the team for this run." He demotes himself from captain and let another person be a captain, although he's still LeBron James. So what I'm saying is, if a woman that's saying they can lead the man relationship, fine. I'm saying so him as a protector, he's not gonna protect anymore. You gotta protect him. So therefore, he demotes himself from the protection role, the provider role, and the provision role, and she does it. So by nature, he demotes himself from from those roles. So I'm saying is women don't really want that because when they usually get those men like that, eventually he's too soft for me, and they usually give him the boot. Not saying he's gonna leave. The woman would just it's over and get rid of him.
I mean, I would say that, like, I feel what you're saying. Like, on a traditional level, the first thought that came into my mind, you know, other than, like, it takes all kinds and, like, people can, you know, mix however they need to, etc. But like I was saying, we're in a man's world, right? So if you're a woman who comes up in a man's world, and first you have to make money to survive, right? Then that they started the liberation of women so that women would get into the workforce and pay taxes, right? Because they're like, there's a whole part of the population.
You
not
see
paying
what I'm going
taxes.
with? You see,
But
you
I'm
smart.
saying,
You see what I'm, all right,
so
go
I'm
ahead.
saying like they're like men were already screwed, but they were fooled. They were duped into thinking they were being given rights and power, but they were being actually like turned into slaves, you know? And then the women, they were like, oh great, they fought to also be enslaved. Because anyway, at that point, you're like, well, I also want to have the right to, I want to be able to make money, and, we're all following this proverbial carrot, and we're all being played for fools in this reality right now, which is why I think it needs to be, reinvented, but until we can get there, we're dealing with what's in front of us, right? So then the woman is like, well, if I have to work, the only way that I can make money to start getting my independence at the time, like my aunts, like they had no choice. It was a nurse, a teacher, or a secretary. It was all that their options were. And this is like, in the 60s. Like it's not that long ago, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that's really tough, So unless you were like a total free spirit entrepreneur and you were just like willing to break barriers and like really just do your own thing, those were your options.
So would you date a man? Would you marry a man in a feminine role in a relationship, and you be the masculine role?
So just to bring my point from where I was at, right? So then you're like, okay, well, in order to make, or you can be a prostitute, right? So if you want to make money, and if you actually want to make money, that's probably what you're gonna have to end up doing, like. And like I have no problem with that, oldest profession apparently. Yeah. And I think like unfortunately humans use a prostitutive approach in their business no matter what they're doing. And I think the only place where you should do that is if you're actually in prostitution. But you know what I mean? Like instead of just like, let's do things right, let's make things work, and do the right thing and have a collective success. Instead, it's all of these games and this and this, that. And so we're all stuck in this insane game together. There's no rhyme or reason to it anymore, right? So for me, like the people I have had relationships with, it's ended up more being like, I'm attracted to like my psychological, like the things that I want to externalize from myself, I'm going to be attracted to those things from a man. So like, guys who are more like ahead in their professions or more charismatic and stuff like that, but they also carried like really toxic traits in a lot of cases that I had to transcend. And then so I could move forward and break through my own psyche into those roles. And yeah, I am more of a leader, and I do need to be a leader because I have ideas and I look for solutions and I need to implement those solutions, and it's not ever going to cut it for me to be under someone's dominion because I'm like, I have ideas that I need to set in motion that's not going to work if you're trying to cap me, So if that means I need to be single, that's fine because like for me, my purpose as a human being to like advance the good, the collective good is more important than being in a relationship. And if I'm going to be in a relationship, then I think the right thing will come to me, So I'm not going to try and like be like, oh, it has to be like this or it has to be like that.
So basically you would accept a man who's a leader naturally.
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. All right, cool.
Definitely. Because I think that that's great. I think I would relate to a person like that. Because that's how
when you have two masculine roles, it usually clash.
But you can relate and be leaders in a feminine and a masculine way. You know what I mean? I think you can be a feminine alpha and a masculine alpha in a way that you still have that complementary energy. I think maybe it's our definition of what masculine and feminine mean that's kind of stunting us also.
Because I look at it like this, right? Before we go, I look at it like this, that you're speaking to you right now, it seems like you're the actual, maybe I gotta watch this video over, but it seems like you're the actual first wave of feminists, which I agree with. The new wave of feminists is super toxic. It's ridiculous. Everybody walking around with pussy hats, and they super pro-abortion. no matter what state, no matter what trimester is in, I'm on the gray area. So things can happen.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when the baby's 7 months or 6 months, it's like that's murder at this point.
I
but,
think, yeah,
But they're
yeah.
agreeing, saying no, it's not. It's her body, her choice. And they, once again, the feminist has warped from its old definition to something completely new. What it is now, and that's the problem I have with the new age feminists.
Yeah, I think like again, like we're really a damaged society, and like I think the question is really like, why are there so many abortions? You know, I think it would be the starting point. I would start to be like, hey, like maybe we're unhealthy. Like maybe we need to really check the way we're fraternizing or whatever, how we're like mixing sexually and like our sexual behaviors that are turning abortion into contraception. Like
Hold on, before we get to that, I'm gonna ask you one more question. It's about this. How do you feel about the overturn of Roe v. Wade? Because it goes in that same convo you just about to talk about.
Well, I think that again, you always have to look out. You can't just like go, oh, it's bad. You know, like, okay, it seems bad to me. I need to understand more deeply what's going on. You know, if people aren't informed, you cannot form an opinion. You know, really, like 101. Like, so first go back, look at events and break out of your paradigms to see what are the greater issues around this. Because I think people don't understand how perverse the powers that be are in population control and in mind control and in orchestrating society. And I think that if you're naive about that, you're going to fall for narratives for the wrong reason. So it's like, it seems like it makes sense, like you're being granted a freedom, but that's why it's so twisted. You need to understand on deeper levels what's going on. So if you come and you say to someone like, hey, no, you're wrong, you know, you're not going to really be able on their level to explain it to them. But if they have more information and start to expand their minds and go like, whoa, we have a way bigger problem than this issue that I didn't understand. So in terms of like laws and like things like that, you know, I think it's all in the end gives us the opportunity to have deeper conversations about things that we should be thinking about more profoundly.
Because once again, feminists, the new age feminists, is going to the extreme while saying abortion. Let's say, for example, right, this media, once again, media is tricking both sides, to be perfectly honest, and they have it says like, if a woman, they're saying the government is taking the rights from women, try to govern a woman's body, bodily autonomy, all these words, these trigger words, they use them on purpose, right? So I always ask the female, I know it's an extreme when people say no abortions at all, no matter what happens, and some people say abortion is no matter what happens on both ends, no matter what and what happens, right? So here's my issue. Yes, people bring out the grape thing. I can't use the rape R word. I can't really use, but I use the word grape. So let's just go with that, whatever. We understand that women do get grape, but like 1% of women who get grape and get pregnant from the grape, right? It's like 1% because they usually go through with the procedure to prevent the pregnancy from happening, right? So even if the woman gets grape and gets pregnant, right? Because things can happen, yes. It don't give you the right to kill a baby at 6 months. Because that baby is his own baby now, own DNA, 10 toes, 10 fingers, own brain, is unique. So women would say it's perfectly fine to delete the baby at that moment, which is a 2-day procedure. But if a man was to kill a woman in the same trimester period, they will charge him with double murder, right? So I'm just saying, if he gets charged with double murder, that means that what you're doing, abortion, is murder, right? But people don't want to hear it that way.
Yeah, I think it's sorry, go ahead.
One more thing. So my thing is this. Women outside, feminists are marching like crazy for the right to murder children. So I keep saying over and over, what about the baby's bodily autonomy? Because that baby have a right to live. It eats inside you, it smiles, it have emotions, it kicks, it moves around inside you. It's like, when are we gonna give the baby its bodily right autonomy past a certain stage? You got eyes, nose, and everything, and you're going to delete the baby. It's to me, it's kind of like sitting at that moment. If you don't want the child, you get a baby up for adoption. Fine, do that then, but don't delete the baby. And if you didn't want a baby from the jump, just use protection or use protection or take the right protocols and procedures to prevent it from happening in the first place.
I mean, so as far as the issue itself, like the pendulum, it's like there's extremes. Obviously, somewhere in the middle, like there's a common ground where we need to negotiate because, you do have all these opinions, and all of these opinions do have a right to be heard, right? So I agree that I don't think you can make abortion flat out illegal, because that's going to create a lot of problems. Like,
I agree.
Like it used to happen of people going and having to have coat hanger abortions and a lot of really horrific things, So I think though that I had an abortion when I was 18 years old, and at that time I think that like it would have completely changed my life, obviously, and that it was. I don't think it was the right time, but I think that, if that had not been an option, I probably wouldn't have been so flippant about, life. So I don't think it should be illegal, but I do think that people need to take creating life far more seriously.
I agree.
And I think that our society needs to support that in a way that it's a healthier society. Because right now you're showing kids to be hypersexualized, like from the jump, and then you're being like, don't worry, it doesn't matter what happens. You got the morning after pill. You just go for it, and it's just like we're just
they eliminate the consequences.
Yeah.
And the accountability to that, because the accountability and the consequences take care of a child.
Yeah. So I'm saying that people are falling for like a greater agenda that they're unaware of. They think that they're being given freedoms. People are equating freedom with the freedom to self-destruct and to destroy society. It's like, yeah, great, you have the freedom to like create a terrible world. Amazing. And like, I'm glad you're getting a momentary dopamine hit from that, but like, it's not sustainable. And that's where I come back to real feminism, which is feminine values include creating sustainability and understanding and counseling and like making solutions that work. This is a twisted, a toxic masculine agenda to destroy the fabric of society and family. So it's like, if you're a real feminist, you need to look deeper.
I agree.
And you need to reconnect with the real mother, which is like the earth. And what would she do?
Because
whose life is this?
Last word, like I agree with you just now. That was I like that. Give me a high five. I like that. Because the thing is, a lot of females don't even, like you said, educate yourself on these type of topics or these type of situations. If you ask some people about the abortion part, they would go crazy. But then you ask them a nuanced question, and you ask them, would you be okay when somebody have an abortion at 7 months? They say, hell no, that's murder. I'm like, that's what they're fighting for. They're fighting to do that in the States.
And there's
in
like
California.
there's like deeper stuff around
like,
that too.
I didn't know that.
It's very twisted.
Most people don't know that. They're fighting for abortion for no matter any trimester. I mean, that's the part that is too extreme.
But on that front, like, because like, yes, I'm talking about ideals and how I wish things were, but the way they are right now, like, there are real things. There is like pregnancy through incest. There is pregnancy through rape, etc. And there are situations that are, so I think there needs to be counseling, awareness, and at a certain point, I think that having there should be a cutoff of like how many months, at what point it's no longer acceptable to
I agree
have
with that.
an abortion. And regardless, people should have spiritual counseling, because I think we need to understand the value of life. And
respect it.
Yeah, and we really need to reconnect with ourselves. Our world is ending.
South Park South Parkland.
Yeah, and like it's not a vibe.
Yeah,
it's not a vibe. So I'm here to to support transformation, but in the healthiest way possible, so that everybody can like return to their nature, as opposed to create this new nature that's just like.
It's weird.
It doesn't feel good. It's just like, it's just not where I want to be. It's not where I want to reincarnate. That's for sure.
So with that being said, man, listen, man, thanks for tuning in for Foreign Insight. But before we go, give them your tags, your Instagram, your Facebook.
All
We can reach
right.
out to you.
Okay. My Instagram is st_Stephanie_Vezina, Vezina. That's my last name. And X Inc. Art is my art. You can link to that through my other IG. If anyone wants to talk, I also I create oracle cards and do oracle readings. It's @wakeup_oracle on Instagram. I do them at every lunation, so full moons, new moons. And I like to share my insight that way through the cards. So if anyone feels like talking, I'm 1,000% down. Also, I do readings if anyone needs spiritual counseling in that sense. So, yeah.
Listen,
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, because I might need a spiritual thing. I
got
don't know,
you,
because I got
yes.
some demons inside my dreads.
Trust
that I'm
me,
trying
I
to
have chased a
unleash.
few.
You know what I'm saying? I got a little, the Matrix movie had the guys that had the white dreads. I'm trying to get them things, my hair back white. I want to be in my ultra instinct form. I just later.
I got you.